This is a production of WKNO Memphis. Production funding for Sports Files is made possible in part by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
My guest today on Sports Files is the head coach of the Rhodes College Lynx football team, Dan Griddy. We are only a few weeks into the college football season, and unfortunately, some off-the-field stories have dwarfed what's happening on the field. The ongoing Johnny Manziel saga has certainly taken away attention from Johnny Football, the Heisman winner, and has put it once again on the controversial topic of paying collegiate players, at least those at the highest level of the game. In fact, Time magazine made it a recent cover story. And then just days ago came the Sports Illustrated investigative piece on alleged improprieties at Oklahoma State, prompting a former NCAA investigator to call the allegations as bad as what happened at SMU in 1976, which resulted in the death penalty for the Mustangs football team. Later in the show, we will talk to a football coach who doesn't have to worry about issues such as paying players and autograph scandals. Dan Griddy coaches Division III football at Rhodes College, and luckily for him, he can mostly concentrate on X's and O's. Before we get to Dan, let's talk about the Memphis Tigers season opener, a 28-14 loss to Duke last Saturday at Liberty Bowl Stadium. An announced crowd of 44,000 watched Coach Justin Fuente's second-year team battle Duke into the fourth quarter. But when it was all said and done, the Tigers' young offense was dominated by an experienced Duke defense, especially in the trenches. The Tigers showed vast improvement from a season ago when Duke won going away 38-14, but their inability to convert on third and fourth down left the defense on the field a little too long. With that said, the D, led by Bobby McCain and his 75-yard interception return for a touchdown, kept Memphis in the game. The Tigers showed their youth, especially on offense, but redshirt quarterback Paxton Lynch did provide us with a glimpse of what could be a very special career at Memphis. Lynch needs to get a little more help from his teammates, such as receivers hanging on the passes, but the nerves will begin to dissipate as the season progresses. The Tigers' next challenge is this Saturday at Middle Tennessee State. And now to Rhodes College, where the Lynx won their season opener last weekend the same way they won last year's first game, in overtime. Last year, the Lynx had their best season in a decade, going 6-3. In just his second season, head coach Dan Griddy helped turn around the program with an emphasis on defense and special teams. So what's in store for 2013? Well, if last week was any indication, plenty of excitement. It's time to look at the Lynx as we break the huddle with Dan Griddy next on Sports Files. Dan, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Seems like you have a flair for the dramatic. You open up your third year at Rhodes with your second straight year of opening up with an overtime victory. What about that?
Yeah, it's not something that we're trying to do for sure, but we'll take the victory. We didn't play as well as we would have liked, but we got the job done in the end.
We'll talk about the 2013 team in a minute, but I want to go back to 2012. Your second year, you take over a program that was 3-6. You completely turn it around as you go 6-3 last year. Why did it work?
I think it worked for two reasons. One, recruiting. We played 18 freshmen, so when you have that kind of influx of talent, you can do some things you weren't able to do previously. I think also we just have a cohesive vision for what makes us special, and the kids have really bought into it.
I know you emphasize defense and special teams. You're not alone in that philosophy, but talk about that and how you try to win football games, at least taking 2/3 of the game. Obviously, you want to take all three with offense, but defense, special teams, very pivotal.
Yeah, I think you've tried to find the weaknesses where other people might not spend as much time. Special teams always is the first thing to go at most practices, so we actually spend some extra time on it, knowing that that's a phase of the game we can win. On defense, similarly up front, I think lots of coaches, the fun is in coming up with coverage schemes and blitz packages. The fun is not coming up with 4 down linemen and trying to figure out how we're getting after the passer or how we're defending the run. And I think those two areas we really spend a lot of time as a staff and as a team on.
Is it harder at recruiting at the Division III level, trying to get special teams players, trying to get defensive players, offensive players? Is there an area where it's tougher at that level?
Certainly at the Division III level. poses some challenges. You know, offensive line's one challenge, but on defense, defensive line, because those kids, if they're athletic enough and they have the frames, those are the kids you'll take a flyer on at a 1AA or a Division I team.
We know it's a terrific institution of higher learning, Rhodes College. What type of a player is a Rhodes College Lynx player?
Someone that has to be serious about both academics and football, and not just for the normal reasons that you want them to do well in class, which obviously is important, but the way we go about coaching. We run a scheme that's much more similar to what you see on Sundays than what you see on Saturdays, because our kids are a lot more competent to sit in the meeting room for an hour or an hour and 15 minutes and learn the details of how we're playing cover 2 5 different ways.
Your mentors are a lot of the coaches that you coached with, coached under, starting with as an undergraduate at Vanderbilt, Jerry DiNardo.
Yes.
Talk about their philosophy and how it's molded you.
I think Coach DiNardo is always very detail focused, and also cared about the players. Those are the two things I really took from him. And he gave me the opportunity then at Indiana to GA with him. And on that staff, offensive coordinator was Steve Adazio, who's the head coach at Boston College. The offensive coordinator before that was Al Borges, the offensive coordinator in Michigan. Kurt Mallory, I worked directly for. DB's at Michigan. Joe Cullen, working for the Browns right now. So I got to be around some really brilliant football people. And I learned the X's and O's of the game, but I also learned that we can be as smart as we want, but if we don't have the players, it isn't going to make a hill of beans.
Dan, are there things at Division III, at that level, that you can't do, but you would like to do with your coaching philosophy?
Certainly. I think you can't, you see all this zone pressure in the NFL. I don't think that works at the Division III level, because the amount of time you have to spend to learn it, but then you have to develop a specific skill set to be able to run it. You can't just go out there and say, like they do in the NFL, okay, you're a man on him and you're going to cover him all day. We have to have very specific criteria that meet the skill set of our players.
We've seen the game dramatically change from when I was a kid. It was a running game. It's now become a passing game. And now you see somebody like Chip Kelly go from Oregon to the Philadelphia Eagles and bring that no-huddle, hurry-up offense. We already have had the read option for the last few years in the National Football League. What do you like? What do you prefer as a coach? I mean, again, you can only do so many things with your coaching philosophy at this level, but do you like the way football is going?
I love the way that football is going. I think back in 1975 or 1976, you had those great Alabama and Oklahoma teams, and no one could play with them. What the spread has done is equalize the playing field a little bit. And then when you add the up-tempo component to it, it's really made some teams be able to compete. Just watch Oregon's film when Coach Kelly was there. On those plays, 3 or 4 guys might be doing things wrong on their offense, but the play still goes because of the tempo component of it. And I think he's going to have great success with Washington as well.
All right, let's talk about your team this season. Obviously, you get that W. You weren't completely pleased with the performance. You came out of there with the win. But what do you think about the squad this year?
I think we're immensely talented, but the challenge for any team after you have some success is not to expect that success just to happen overnight. Our guys came out in that field expecting to win on Saturday, but didn't necessarily put forth the effort or the technical skill that usually would accompany a win. So they learned, okay, wait a second, we're not just winning for showing up, we need to bring it to the next level, and I think that will be a good experience for us going forward.
I would also imagine the teams on your schedule now look at Rhodes as very tough competition. A couple of years ago, as we mentioned, 3 and 6. You turn it around last year, you're not going to sneak up on anybody.
We're not going to sneak up on anyone, and we're going to have us circled in many times for beating them last year. Teams are like looking for reasons why they lost to us as opposed to giving us the credit for it. So I would expect we're going to get the best effort from most of the games on our schedule.
You've got Washington University in St. Louis this weekend. When you try to put together a non-conference schedule, what are you looking at?
I'm looking at schools that are similar to us academically. So WashU's a great school. We go out to Claremont in California, another great school. I want to play players that have the same pressures and the same responsibilities that our players have.
We talk about the Alabamas, the Ohio States. It doesn't really matter. Anybody in Division I with television contracts, they're making a lot of money. So it really isn't too much of an issue with travel expenses and other expenses. What is it like for Rhodes when you take a trip out to California?
We count every cent that we spent. You just have to be very detailed and say, okay, here's what we're going to do. Would I like to do 10 other things? Certainly. But we just don't have the budget for it, so we're going to do things the best we can do to the best of our ability.
All right, tell me about the Box boys. You got Blake Box, the quarterback, and the wide receiver Brandon Box. They clicked, I think, your first touchdown of the season last week. I know Blake has been there for a couple of years playing quarterback. What about these guys?
Both from Westlake High School in Austin. Two brothers do not have more dissimilar personalities. Brandon's very engaging, outgoing. Blake is more reserved. He can be a little bit of we call him a nerd or a square on the team. But they both understand football, and they both excel at what they do, and they've added another dimension to our offense. And
tell everybody what high school that they attended, what superstar attended that high school.
It's Drew Brees' alma mater.
Not a bad thing for Blake to look up to.
No, not at all.
As far as recruiting around the area, how is the perception of Rhodes football for local high school players?
I think our perception is growing. I don't think it's always been the best, but I think going forward we've put a huge emphasis on it. We have 2 defensive linemen, DJ Barrow from Collierville, DJ Walker from MUS playing for us. We have 2 guys who are backups right now from Christian Brothers. So we're slowly building that pipeline, but there needed to be a change in the view of what Rhodes and what Rhodes football is about.
Dan, how much of a challenge is it for you and your staff to have to go on the road and do a lot of recruiting outside the Memphis area?
It's a challenge, but it's also a blessing. The school has given us enough of a budget to be able to do that. We touched down in 41 of the 50 states last year.
Wow.
We have members of this freshman class from 17 different states.
Do you enjoy it?
I love it. You have to love it because D3 is different. There's no dead period. So while my D1 buddies are home for Christmas, I come home about December 23rd in Boston, and I'm gone by December 26th.
Do you have any personal goals? I'm not talking about team goals for this season, but personal goals in your coaching career, where you want to be maybe 10 years from now. Do you still want to be here?
Yeah, I think if nothing changing, Rhodes is the perfect spot for me because it's very rare that you find a place that's academically situated like Rhodes. Who cares? And Dr. Trout has been an unending advocate for us and understands how important football can be to a campus. So it's pretty much a perfect spot for me right now.
Is it a good feeling, I talked about this in the open, while Texas A&M and Coach Kevin Sumlin have to worry about what's happening with Johnny Manziel and autographs and paying players is now a topic of Time magazine. You don't have to worry about that stuff. You can worry about X's and O's and making sure these young men are taking care of their academia, but you don't have those worries.
It's a great plus. I do not have to worry about someone coming to a meeting on time. I can tell you endless stories of chasing after Tracy Porter through the campus of Bloomington, trying to get him to the DB meeting on time.
Yesterday, as everyone knows, the 12th anniversary of 9/11. And for those who don't know your story, you were a practicing attorney in New York City when the towers went down, when the attacks took place in New York City. Of course, we were attacked in several other places. And it quickly changed your mindset of what you wanted to do, what direction you wanted to go in your professional life. Can you discuss that a little bit? I know people have heard you talk about this in the past.
I think the easiest way to say it, obviously, it was a shock, but it was a shock to my system to say, okay, why am I doing what I'm doing when I don't like it? Is money really that important, or should I be happy with my everyday life? And I also knew some people and who were also doing stuff that they didn't necessarily like for the payoff at the end, and they didn't ever get that payoff. So I felt it motivated me to at least examine what would really make me happy, and that's how I ended up coaching.
How hard is it for you every time we hit the anniversary?
It's not pleasant, but I try to focus on the positives of the people I knew, and the joy that they did have, and the impact they made on my life. And when I'm tired, I think about it, especially on yesterday, to keep me going.
Do you think if 9/11 didn't happen, you would still be an attorney today, or would you be a football coach?
I ask myself that question a lot. I'd like to say that there's a hand from outside my own decision-making that pushed me this way, and that would have occurred anyways.
Goals for the team this year. What can you do on the field?
I think our only goal that matters is winning the championship. We're certainly good enough to compete for it. Any championship team needs a break here or a break there and a little bit of luck to get there. But we're certainly in the mix for the championship in our conference. And that's the only goal we care about. Winning seasons no longer are acceptable.
Dan, we like to end all our interviews with something called 5 for the Road. So if you thought you were off the hot seat, you're not. These are pretty simple questions.
Okay.
So. What is your favorite professional sports team?
Boston Red Sox.
And tell everybody why.
I grew up in Boston, and it's the greatest baseball team in the history of the world.
Is the Red Sox that much more, how can I put this, from a fandom standpoint in New England? Are the Red Sox here, and then it's the Celtics and the Bruins and who am I missing?
Patriots.
And the Patriots. Are they
Yes,
head and shoulders above?
The difference is that it's, Boston has a historical aspect to it all the time, and the Red Sox are generational. There's something I talked about with my grandparents, my grandmother, my grandfather. My dad and I shared those conversations. I share them with my 4- and 2-year-old nieces right now. It's something that will continue forever.
What sports did you play growing up? This is not part of the 5, but...
I played football, hockey, and baseball.
And baseball, okay. Favorite professional athlete?
Larry Bird.
Larry Bird. How many games would you go to as a kid watching the Celtics or the Patriots, Bruins or the Red Sox?
Went to a lot of Patriots games because they were awful, so they're easy to get tickets. Went to a few Red Sox games. The Celtics were like you had to rob Fort Knox to get in there, so I saw them play the Cavaliers and the Clippers quite a bit growing up, but that was about it.
What about Bird is it that you love so much?
I think he transcended a generation in Boston. None of our other teams were doing very much, and you knew when the game was on the line, Larry Bird was taking that shot, and he was going to hit it.
Interesting, you go with a favorite team being the baseball team, favorite player being from the basketball, and nothing from football.
I think it's interesting when you're closer to something. Now Tom Brady's awesome.
Not too shabby, right?
Don't get me wrong, but the whole growing up with Larry Bird was a special thing.
Dan, what's your favorite music? Singer, band? What do you like to listen to?
Right now, the Eagles. They're my favorite band of all time.
So I would imagine if it doesn't conflict with the schedule.
We're on bye week that week. I'm already got my tickets.
Are
I
you
will be
serious?
ready to be there.
How lucky are you? Favorite movie of all time?
Favorite movie of all time? That's a tough question. I would probably go with Blue Velvet.
Blue Velvet?
Yes, old David Lynch.
Yeah, David Lynch in Twin Peaks.
Yep.
I thought you may go sports. If I asked you for a sports movie, is there any that stand out?
The British version of Fever Pitch. The American version, when they had a Yankees fan and Jimmy Fallon cheering on the Red Sox, was too much for me.
Final question for you. Favorite television show?
Lost was my favorite TV show.
That was a great show.
It was.
Did you like the ending?
I loved the ending.
You did?
But I also love the Sopranos ending, so people may question my
I love
judgment.
The Sopranos, not so much about the Lost, but you're so cerebral. You're such an intelligent guy. You probably understood it a lot better than I did.
I don't know about that, but I enjoyed it.
Hey, Dan, best of luck, first of all, in St. Louis this weekend and the rest of the season, and hopefully we'll get to cross paths again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thanks again. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, it's our overtime segment. There's a new entry on the local prep football scene this season, and it's taking place at Lausanne Collegiate School. And ironically, it's our second story tonight involving a football team with the nickname Lynx. Lausanne is playing in its first season of varsity football, and heading up the squad is the winningest coach in Tennessee State prep football history, Ken Netherland, who, along with former CVHS head coach Kevin LaCastro, are molding this program for the future. Recently, I had a chance to talk with Ken about his latest challenge. Coach, let me go back to a couple of years ago. Why accept the challenge of starting a football program here at Lausanne?
Well, you know, I had left St. George and had been off about 3 weeks, and the athletic director here called me and said, we're interested in starting a football program here at Lausanne and wanted to know if I'd be interested, and I told him I would come over. And it'd been a long time since I'd been to Lausanne, and
right.
Came over and saw what they had added here and the facilities they had added, and it was interesting, you know, to try it one more time. And I said, why not? You know, you can only cut so much grass at home, and
exactly.
I said, why not? You know.
Are there more similarities or are there differences between what you had to do at St. George's to create that football program and what you're doing here at Lausanne?
Well, we had the kids at St. George probably had come up through the younger football programs. Over here, these young men had not played much of football at all, you know. And we took a group of 9th graders and actually tried to keep them interested. Played 2 years of JV, was very successful the first year. The second year we ran into some injury problems to our better players, and we struggled to about a 500 season that year, and you know, but we bounced back. The people here have been great.
You have coached for many years in many different programs and have had an awful lot of success. How demanding will you be for success right off the bat, or is it more tapered because you know you're dealing with a lot of young players, some who did not have that football background?
Well, I always thought athletics you're supposed to win. I mean, is that not what's supposed to happen? We expect a lot of them, and I think the kids expect to, you know, to get an early start. So we're going to come out of the chute trying to, you know, stay on the buck and bronc and see how far we can go.
Is it more rewarding to have success in a new program like you did at St. George's and now hopefully here at Lausanne than maybe back at Germantown when you had these big teams year after year after year and you knew they were going to be in the state title hunt? Is it more rewarding when you mold something from the ground up?
Well, you know, it's all about the kids anyhow, and to see their satisfaction in being successful is what I really care about. You know, I want them to be successful. I want them to grow up and be successful young men. And I think athletics gives us a chance to do the things that are going to be difficult to do, and we pay a price for, and we learn to live with it.
Are the young men playing football today in 2013 much different from when you first started out?
I don't think it's any difference. You know, kids look to athletics for discipline. These young men over here have done everything I've asked them to do. The thing that's impressed me is the people over here at Lausanne have bought into the program. Our headmaster has built a new field to support the program. Our basketball coach, we had a meeting and he encouraged his athletes to, you know, join the football team. So everybody's been very supportive, and we want to try to get off to a good start and hopefully build something here that people will be proud of.
Were you able to give your 2 cents in developing this field?
Well, you know, they're talking money over my head. my 2 cents would have put probably 2 pieces of grass down there, but they were worth, you know, they were willing to put that much money behind the program. So we feel like with that kind of support, we're going to do the best we can to have a good program.
Do you feel that the young men will be taking the field this year in the inaugural season of varsity football? Do you feel there's that sense of pride that they're starting something new?
Well, I think our kids do.
Right.
I mean, this is something that's never happened to this group before, you know, and they'll be on the front end of the program and everything, and they can always look back and tell their grandkids how great it was and how great they were, and you know, if we have some success, they can really, you know, throw the chest out and brag. So
yeah, they're laying the groundwork for the future.
Right.
Do you still get the same fired up attitude coaching in this game as opposed to coaching in your first couple of years?
Well,
are you still the same coach?
It's football. I mean, when you tee it up and play football, it's a challenge. And, you know, I don't remember the wins as much as I do the losses, especially when, you know, I had something to do with a team losing, you know, bad decisions and things like that. But, you know, kids will react to how we coach, and this group here has been very, very faithful to, you know, paying attention to what we're trying to do, and they're trying. They're young. We'll make some mistakes, and we got to, you know, get over the hump and hopefully learn from what we mess up and do better the next time.
What have you learned as a coach from mess-ups maybe earlier in the career? There weren't too many mess-ups to now. And is your coaching philosophy the exact same thing, or have you also altered it with the way the game has been altered?
Well, the game has changed. You know, they're flinging the ball around now. For some reason, other people think that if you throw a touchdown pass, you get more points. You know, and you know, we're still old philosophy. We try to run the football and maintain control of the game and put points on the board.
What is realistic in this first year of varsity football?
Well, you know, if you get off to a good start, don't have bad things happen to you, it could be a great year. Our kids are very athletic. We've got some young kids. They're going to get better and better as the season goes along. They'll learn and they'll get better.
local prep football here in the Memphis area wouldn't be right without Ken Netherland coaching. It's always great to see you. It's always great to talk to you, Ken.
Thank you.
Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Lausanne is 1-1 on the season and will play host to Fayette Academy on Friday night. As I mentioned earlier in the show, the Memphis Tigers will play at Middle Tennessee State on Saturday. Also in college action this weekend, 25th ranked Ole Miss has a big rematch game at Texas. Mississippi State is at Auburn in an SEC clash, and Arkansas hosts Southern Miss. The big one is in College Station, Texas, as #1 Alabama meets #6 Texas A&M. Enjoy the pigskin. And that'll do it for this week. Remember, you can see any of our previous shows by logging on to WKNO.org and clicking on KNO Tonight. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.